Good morning and welcome to Talking Points here on WESN, the content capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. This is Talking Point. And, well, it's Friday, February 18th, 2022. It's Friday, so that is why we're probably just attired a bit differently this morning. We are certainly in a good mood, a good feeling, considering that it's Friday. Not considering some of the things that we have to discuss this morning. It's always difficult to have such strong conversations when you're always looking for something to smile about, which is why we always encourage people to call in and give us some good news. But nevertheless, that's what we're here for, and that's what we have to do in order to continue progressing, or need I say at least progress. Alongside me this morning is my co-host and colleague, my good friend, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Keaton. And today, I don't know about how happy the day is. It's a very grey day.
It would
between you and
so.
I.
Yeah.
And we've had some reports over some more of the difficulties that was to be had during the power outage. One of the interesting or ironic things is I said, well, for the next time somebody might figure out police response times and go rob a bank. Well, apparently somebody attempted to and somewhat rob the bank. He was quick thinking, unfortunately, for the wrong thing. Luckily, he did not necessarily get into the safe, but there have been other reports of unfortunate happenings during the blackout. And in the case, one boy was shot reportedly looking for Wi-Fi. Things like that, we do have to wonder, what is it that really goes through people's minds during such an event, unfortunately. And, what else is there that we don't know? Funeral directors now complaining about the lack of time and power.
That's a bit
interesting.
Me. Because first of all, when I'm looking at the Minister of National Security alluding to the fact that they properly secured Trinidad and Tobago during the blackout, first of all, I said it yesterday, I will not go against my word. I saw the TCPS out. I saw them in their numbers, and I'm very grateful and happy that took place. He went on to state that the public wouldn't know this, but this blackout provides an opportunity for terrorists. It provides an opportunity for extreme social disorder, and we were able to avoid and avert some of that last evening. Now, the Minister of National Security is right, although I do feel that the public would have been aware of criminal activity that can happen.
This is a bit idealistic, but as much as there's a small chance, I do wonder if he should have said that. Because you put the idea out there. So there's always a chance that they would not have thought about it, except you told them, well, yes, there's an opportunity.
I don't.
For the next time.
I don't think that's the reason why he shouldn't have said it. I don't think it's putting the idea out there, because I think people were well aware.
Crimes tend to follow trends.
But what I think, the reason why I stated it was a mistake, is because what he's stating is that we were prepared in the event of anything to take place. And I have very little confidence in that. Because in my mind, at one point I was stating, if this continues late into the night, is the looting going to start? And maybe that's very pessimistic on my part. But what was our national security up to par and prepared in the event of anything happening? Because from about 9 o'clock, once it was 9 o'clock, there was no police on the road. You had police probably patrolling different communities in their vehicles. But from the main ways throughout Trinidad and Tobago, the various junctions, the major junctions, there were no police officers, no police vehicles. So it's a mistake on his part to state that. But again, for most part, the TCPS did a good job.
They were prepared. They were so prepared that they even apparently deputized the guys that wipe your windscreens on the intersection near West Mall on the Western Main Road, a major artery to go east-west. They were so prepared. Because here's the interesting thing. What would have happened if those young men did not volunteer? Would we have had road rage and accidents as people without direction are trying to get through a major artery? We don't know. I mean, it probably would not have devolved into complete chaos and anarchy. But my point is, did we have enough police officers to deploy throughout the entire country to ensure that the peace was kept.
We know that even without a blackout, that's not the case.
Exactly.
Now, I'm, again, grateful to the individuals who volunteered and were deputized, but then is it now in
No,
these situations...
the deputization was a sarcasm.
Right. Joke's on me.
Joke's
on me.
I'm pretty sure Kita knew there was a Freudian slip.
No.
It's right.
No,
you
I have
took
to
me
admit
seriously?
it. I took you seriously.
Oh
I have to
word.
admit. I did not hear about that. I must admit, I did not hear about that. That's making me look like a fool, Sean. But because I didn't hear about that, I trust in good favor and good faith that my co-host and colleague, my good friend...
I was being sarcastic.
Well,
I was being sarcastic.
You did a damn good job of being sarcastic. I certainly fell for it. Anyway, another thing that really struck me was in relation to the funeral homes, because it was not the first thing that came to my mind. But one funeral director stated that he had bodies that he could not even embalm. And I don't think that these funeral services throughout Trinidad and Tobago, not all would have generators. Perhaps one or two of the major ones would.
That is an important question, because I would like to think, yes, an island-wide or nation-wide blackout is a rare event. But you can have a blackout. This is not beyond the realm of possibility that your area will lose power for a whole host of reasons, right? It doesn't matter what country you're in, it doesn't matter how rich your country is. A blackout can happen. You're a funeral home, you're storing the bodies of deceased people. Keeping them refrigerated is a priority. I would assume you would at least have a generator for your refrigeration units, right? Now, do they have a generator so that the entire business can continue functioning? I can't make that assumption, or I can't necessarily say that should be done. But I think the issue that the funeral director is saying is the scheduling of funerals are so tight, and the process of embalming and processing bodies and getting it ready for families to have their funeral on the allotted date, because of course when you have a funeral you potentially have to schedule time with the crematorium. If you're getting cremated, you have to schedule time with whatever house of worship you're taking the body to. Everybody has to be informed, prepared to come out, so that all is disrupted now. And I can understand his frustration, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a generator to allow you to continue operating, to some extent, I mean, 12 hours is an excessive amount of time, but to some extent, if you weren't prepared for any power outage at all.
Well, hold on. That's not the only thing, because what the funeral director stated, and this is where I have to agree with what opposition MP Rujanath Darsing was stating, that the Minister of Health needs to update the nation as to the status of the public health system during the blackout, right? Because I have it on good word that within Mount Hope, the generators were giving trouble. They were giving a lot of trouble. And so what should have been was not. What the funeral director stated is that people on ventilators and other devices were affected, and unfortunately persons died, and some had difficulty with their breathing apparatus and devices. So that is why I agree with what the opposition MP stated in the Minister of Health, you know, coming out and being open and honest with us. Because what I find often happening is that if you speak to some doctors within the public healthcare system, and they inform me as to what's taking place, or even patients inform me as to what's taking place, but then the Minister of Health is stating something totally different, I sometimes question why it is these doctors or these patients don't come out and speak or tell the public what is actually happening within the system. And silly me, it's obvious. It's because of reprisals. You don't know what are the repercussions for coming out and contradicting what the minister is stating. But nevertheless, this situation really was sad, to say the least. And whilst it obviously shows faults within our system and within our power grid, someone has to take responsibility, because I go back to the fact that in the release from TNTech yesterday, they stated that they believe the fault came from the Gandhi power station. And this is a problem that has been occurring. And the mere fact that they use that term occurring, and I'm linking it back to a couple months ago, we had an island-wide blackout again. It tells me that they were very much well aware of the situation beforehand. And it's either mismanagement or negligence that led to this. The mere fact that the investigation has not taken place as yet, no independent investigation has been produced in terms of any sort of findings. No TNTech investigation has come up with any conclusions as yet. And the Minister of Public Utilities, as well as the union president, although you could expect this on any union head stating this, but both the minister and union head stating that sabotage was not involved. Tell me what is sabotage? Because if you were aware that this situation was taking place for quite some time now, isn't that in itself sabotage by you not dealing with it?
So technically, I would think that legally speaking, and I'm not a lawyer, so this is a big assumption, sabotage would have to be like an external body or somebody acting with the complete intent to maliciously disrupt or harm the system. Negligence, on the other hand, you're not actually actively trying to disrupt the system. It's more of a case of, I hope it doesn't fail, but I'm not doing what I should be doing to ensure that it doesn't.
Sabotage, the difference, the true difference between sabotage and negligence, and you're right, we're not lawyers, but we're going with the basic definitions, is deliberate.
Well, right, yes.
Right?
So the
right,
intent,
good.
yeah.
So sabotage is deliberate. And I'm stating that if you were aware that this is something that has been occurring and you didn't see it, isn't that deliberate?
I don't think they intended for the blackout. In fact, there's a chance that whoever, because it could be either negligence, and that might be a budgetary thing, we don't want to do the maintenance, we don't want to pay for it. It could be, oh gosh, what was the other thing that you said? There were two reasons, negligence and, I can't remember off the top of my head, but to me it was management, whereas
mismanagement,
negligence, or just
sabotage.
Somebody's not doing their work, which in that case, so it could be the fault of management, or it could be the fault of the workers. We have not gotten a report. I'm just saying the possibilities. But ultimately speaking, the situation, I don't think, was one that they expected to happen. I think they knew that there was a problem, right? But not necessarily what would be the extent of the consequence or how bad it could get. And what has happened is, apparently, we do have to ask, were the other island-wide blackouts because of this problem, right? But in those cases, they were able to bring it back up quicker. So it could be that it was the cause, or it could be that it's a different cause for those shorter times. But like I said with regards to the ferry, and with other things, I'm sure we could think of examples, it starts off fine because the situation hasn't degenerated yet. But the lack of proper maintenance will eventually erode part of our infrastructure, and then eventually problems will mount up. Basically, a bridge doesn't collapse from brand new just like that. But the lack of maintenance, the lack of attention, the budgetary shortfalls on doing any minor fixes then causes the issues to require major fixes. And all of a sudden you have a bridge that needs a lot of money just to make it feasible because you didn't want to potentially do the small maintenance. Remember what we said, prevention is cheaper. Not just cheaper, not just better, cheaper. That's how it's better than the cure.
Now, I think it is not right. I think it is premature on the part, because again, I could understand the union heads coming out and stating it's not sabotage, don't blame the workers. That's their role, that's their position. I think it's premature on the part of the Minister of Public Utilities to state that no sabotage was involved. And again, clearly define the term sabotage versus negligence. The major difference is whether or not it's deliberate. And if you're aware of something and you choose not to fix it, in my opinion, that's deliberate.
I mean, there could be a mid-manager, upper manager. I highly doubt...
Yeah, but you're receiving instructions from
No, I highly doubt it's cabinet. Yeah, you receive instructions, but how you interpret and implement those instructions...
But that's the thing.
It's two different things.
Notice, I'm not pointing fingers.
I'm pretty sure elected officials are not saying, hey, so for this individual power line and power station, make sure to do this fix and use this wire and arrange it in this way. They're not going to be that, they're not going to drill down.
I refuse to fall into that category of any individual who's quick to blame, well, you see this minister is so-and-so. I refuse to do that because, you see, this is the thing. From the electrician on the ground who's contracted to TNTech, subcontractors, to contractors, to TN-Tech themselves, and managers, and middlemen, or whatever, I refuse to point blame. I like to see what the investigation concludes.
I will say this. If it is a situation because they did not have enough of budget in order to conduct regular maintenance throughout the country, and this is one of the symptoms as a result, even if in that scenario where you could say it's government's fault, people in TN-Tech would have known.
Yes.
They would have known, and maybe this is why we need whistleblower legislation, but to say that we need the government to implement whistleblower legislation so that a government employee could blow the whistle on them right now is a bit of an interesting conundrum.
Let me just quote from one newspaper article before we conclude on this discussion. And I laughed a little bit at this. This is the level of reporting that we're hearing now. Whether or not you are quoting directly from the individual, it is always good to have clarification. Mm-hmm. Supermarket owners, and I quote, supermarket owners who spoke to, and the name of the media house is put in brackets, supermarket owners who spoke to a media house said the loss was not great, as many frozen items were defrosted. Think about that. The loss was not great because many frozen items were defrosted. I don't think that makes sense.
Wait, what?
Defrosted items will pose a major health issues. It should not be consumed, it should be discarded.
Depending on a lot of factors, some of which you could measure. How long were they defrosted for, what was the temperature for how long, etc., etc. But ultimately, there are certain things you probably cannot necessarily know for certain. And unfortunately, you're right. When frozen food gets defrosted, generally speaking, I believe proper health standards would be to say that this is no good anymore. We can't guarantee its safety. We have to dump it. So,
folks, just be careful. Just be very careful where you're purchasing fish, in the next couple of days or so. Just be very much well aware of that. Anyway, let's take a break here on the program. We are due to welcome our commentator later for the latest happenings and discussions in our sister isle. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But in the meantime, as we wait for their arrival, we can discuss the latest ruling on the part of the court yesterday in relation to murder accused and bail, and the argument by the attorney at law representing the state. I am not entirely sure how that's even an argument. But when we return, we'll get into that. Stay tuned.
Burning questions, urgent topics. Welcome back to One on One, the show where we tackle the most current and pertinent subjects that are affecting all citizens, where we ask the hard questions and have in-depth conversations. What separates One on One from other talk shows is that the conversation stems from a younger perspective on topics that affect the fabric of our society. One on One, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. on WESN Content Capital.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
It may seem like the hardest thing to do right now, but we all need each other to wear a mask, wash our hands, watch our physical distance, and stay at home. We need you safe. Together we can make the difference. Together we can curb the spread of COVID-19. So let's be responsible in our actions. The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
Welcome back to Talking Point. Delivering a written judgment during a virtual hearing yesterday morning, Chief Justice Ivor Archie and appellate judges Maria Dean Amora and Malcolm Holip ruled that Section 5, Subsection 1 of the Bail Act of 1994, which precluded the grant of bail for persons accused of murder, is inconsistent with the Constitution and should be struck down. Therefore, judicial officers may now consider granting bail to persons charged with murder. Now, despite the court rulings, persons who may benefit from this will not be immediately able to apply for bail. But Sean, I think, at least in my opinion, reading from the case, that you always need a judge's ruling in order to proceed. And it sets precedents going forward. But don't you think that this might have been obvious? If somebody is accused, whatever happened to the innocent until proven guilty line? So, if somebody is accused, why will you deny them bail?
The line in the reports, this is on the Newsday, the line is they want to file an application to challenge the decision at the Privy Council, so they're asking for a stay or suspension until that challenge goes through. How long will that take? Saying they want to do that because it could lead to a flood of accused persons applying for bail. The irony of that statement is beyond me. The only people who could apply for bail are accused persons.
Furthermore,
that's the point of bail.
We have, now, if you would have watched Strictly Legal with Rondell Donovan on this station, one of his guests spoke specifically on the topic of bail. And they mentioned that bail is only a guarantee that you will show up to court. So you could set bail at a high amount. They have to post bail before they're released. It's not punitive. It's not meant in any way to persecute you. But what is also interesting to me is that senior counsel Fayed Hossain, who led the state's legal team, stated that his client wanted to temporarily suspend it, as you would have pointed out. Why? And I quote, "The consequences would be dire, especially if one takes into consideration what is happening on the streets with gangs." Basically, Mr. Hossain, if you are stating that, isn't that then the case and an argument for the state failing? Because if you have a murderer accused, but you're letting them go on bail because they're accused, well, then you're alluding to the fact that it will just power street gangs more. Aren't you stating that the accused are gang members? And if you are stating that the accused are gang members, under law in Trinidad and Tobago, can't you arrest them and charge them?
Yeah. But hold on. So I just hope that senior counsel Hossain does not get into an accident and then maybe the circumstances of the accident might lead to him being charged for murder. Because then under his philosophy, he should get no bail. And then I hope he doesn't try to pull any strings to get his case fast-tracked. No. Let it take 10 to 15 years. Will his argument be the same? And that's the thing. You cannot have a law to say, well, oh gosh, most of them are guilty. That's fine. But even if one innocent man has to suffer because of it, innocent until proven guilty is supposed to be a thing. If you deny it, if you reject it, then when it comes your turn to be accused of something, you're going to wonder, why are my rights being tossed into the garbage? We have to defend your rights for all, otherwise there will be no rights for any of us. So that's how principles work, folks. And I understand, yes, you might want to get some hardened criminal and keep him behind bars, but as Keaton said, that's not how the system's supposed to work. I have no knowledge of any working criminal justice system where they just decide, you know what, we're just going to remove bail because we can't sort it out otherwise. This is our Band-Aid. It's not even a good Band-Aid. It's a leaky Band-Aid.
We have a serious issue with our remand yard center here in Trinidad. People have been on remand for years.
And nobody has denied it or come out to say it's not a problem.
But apart from that, the state is incurring major costs when you're keeping individuals on remand. And then years later, if they're released, they sue the state, and many times they win. Now, I'm seeing one individual stating that the government and the legislature are against law-abiding citizens of this country. All right, let's not have that debate. But he says there's no upside to this decision. These people really live in a bubble. Haven't they seen the number of repeat crimes perpetrated by persons out on bail? No, I haven't seen it actually. And I'm not just going to come on this program and state, because he's accused, there's repeat offenses. I have no statistics. I have no information on that.
Yeah, you're not transparent about those things.
I can't go and make that accusation just like that.
It does not matter, because you cannot just assume someone is guilty because of past crimes. Yes, I understand. Very often that is the case. But if we want to even entertain the thought or the notion of rehabilitation, that can't be a policy. It just can't.
If the state's argument is the correlation between a murder accused, and again, folks, understand, accused, you need to understand that word. If the state's argument is the correlation between the murder accused and the gangs here in Trinidad and Tobago, they could get bail for being accused of murder until they're proven guilty. But if you're stating that they are indeed part of a gang, it is illegal to be a gang member, and you could lock them up.
So an interesting point to be made. Senator Lashmidi sent me a link. I think she has a Facebook note or a post on the matter. She makes a point at the end. She concludes, accused are not entitled to bail. They're entitled to apply for bail. Which means that a judge still has the right, if he deems the circumstances of the case warrant no bail.
Refuse them bail.
And that is what Senior Counsel Hossain is arguing against. And I don't know if it's his personal beliefs or if it's just, it's a job and he's accepting remuneration for the job. And it's as simple as that, and he's a hired gun.
And oftentimes that's the case, because this is not the first time that we're hearing that this particular senior counsel is representing the state in a matter.
But to me, the ethical implications of something like this, you can't allow these things to exist. And then when it doesn't work for you, complain. By then it's too late. And we need to have our formal systems and structures operating properly and efficiently. So the solution is not to say no bail. The solution is to have the investigative arm and the judicial arm and all the other aspects of the criminal justice system working properly. But we can't do that. That's too hard. So what we're going to do is we're going to deny bail and potentially infringe the rights of dozens or hundreds of our citizens.
So here's my thing. If the government's crime-fighting plan or their tactics is to deny an accused bail, if your plan is, you know what, the accused, we're going to put everybody in remand, then obviously folks see through that. That is basically, in my opinion, that is what I'm reading here. My plan is, we have an accused, all right, the best way to deal with it, we put them in remand. We'll allow the justice system to have these cases going on for years and years and years, and so on and so forth, and then we'll deal with it when it comes to Judgment Day.
Here's the cynic. Who does this affect the most? Which economic bracket and social bracket?
You tell me.
Right? Not the rich.
No, because you see, I don't want to.
Not the rich. I'm going to say it. No, I'm going to say it. It's not the rich. In fact, the people who is being affected the most by it, you could even argue might be some of the, or part of the base of our political parties, support parties.
Sure, do you think it is premature for us to make that?
So that's an interesting
Do you think it's premature to make that statement, though? Do you think it's
part of the base, not the entire base, but part of the base? That's who's going to be affected.
Yeah, but could we say that? I mean, you just did.
I think that's a fair assumption to make. Prove me wrong otherwise. I have no problem with saying I'm wrong. But at the end of the day, we know the financiers are not going to be affected by this. Those who know, the financiers are not going to be affected by this. So is it a priority to get bail removed? No, because then crime might go out of control and we can't have that. Better to cover it up, sweep it under the rug, put these guys in a temporary situation that could last as much as 15 or more years. That's not our problem. Let's kick that can down the road. Who cares if you lost a quarter of your life? Or in some of these cases, for some of these men, it might be as much as half. Let's just...
This entire issue goes back into the state of national security and the state of our criminal justice system here in Trinidad and Tobago. And understand that the major issue, because the defendant was the state, bringing forward the case was the former Attorney General, Anna Logan. And a huge issue for me on this part is the government not only alluding to the fact that the accused may be gang members. It's clearly defined what a gang member is. It's clearly defined what a gang is according to our laws. And therefore, if you are correlating it, then you are to charge them for being a gang member because it is illegal.
They don't have the evidence to do that.
Through the argument on the part of the state. And if the state's crime-fighting plan is to basically remand every single accused of murder in Trinidad and Tobago, then honestly, we are the fools because we are falling for it and we're not realizing or seeing how unjustified that is. And folks, I'm begging you, please understand what's going on here and understand remand, understand the judicial system, the justice system, and understand accused. Folks, we're going to take a break here on Talking Point. When we return, we will welcome our commentator for Friday. Stay tuned.
Gift giving during a lockdown can still be hassle-free with a gift from FanZone with delivery options available nationwide. Visit and browse our Facebook and Instagram pages for all your official licensed merchandise and apparel and have it delivered to your door. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. FanZone, we've got you covered.
The best for your baby is at dbesttoys.com. We have the best strollers, car seats, walkers, feeding accessories, playpens, cribs, clothing, and the widest range of brand name toys like Barbie, Hot Wheels, Nerf, LOL, Fisher-Price, Cocomelon, Intex pools, Amazon Fire tablets, HP and Gateway laptops, and the best bikes, scooters, skateboards, and ride-on. Visit us in-store at 7 Main Road, MacBean, or shop online now at dbesttoys.com. That's dbesttoys.com. We have the best toys at the best prices.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit?
Yes.
What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole. It's for all of us in public.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Welcome back to Talking Points here on WESN. Joining us now via Zoom across the sister aisle is Dr. Faith B. Israel. Good morning, Dr. B. Israel. Welcome back to Talking Point. It's good to see you.
Good morning, good morning. Thanks for having me this morning.
Morning, morning, Madam Secretary.
I still haven't gotten used to that one, eh?
It'll take some while, but actually, let's get into that conversation in terms of the position. Moving away from health and COVID-19 for a moment, the minority leader of the THA, Kelvin Morris, is expressing serious concern over reports of termination of contracts within the THA. Now, Chief Secretary Farley Augustine confirmed that employees from the Monitoring and Evaluation Unit of the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Renewal had been terminated, but he claimed that they were not suitable for their position and were political hires by the former PNM administration. Now, the mere fact that this is being quoted in a newspaper on the part, this is reporting on the part of the THA Chief Secretary, is this now that we're seeing bad reporting, or is it that indeed there seems to be, I guess, a political purge, as many people have alluded to?
Well, I would not use the word political purge. What we are actively pursuing is ensuring that individuals who are hired for a position are actually individuals who can do the work. And I think what the Chief Secretary is stating is that we are not afraid to call a spade a spade. We are not afraid to say this is what happened, and we are not afraid to take decisive action to ensure that the functioning of the Tobago House of Assembly runs the way that it should. We are really just being honest about the processes and the procedures that we are following. It is as simple as that. When you look, though, at the history of people firing individuals, you would realize that that is a relatively small group. And if you ask anybody who are the people and you hear their names and you ask what are their qualifications, the next question is, how them they get our work? Unlike what happened several years ago when the PNM came into office and practically disbanded the entire Ministry of Tobago Development, sending home hundreds of people without doing any real due diligence or anything to that effect. So what we are doing is not purging. What we are doing is ensuring that individuals who are hired to do their job actually have the capacity to do their job and that they've been doing it. The Chief Secretary and they went through a lengthy process of, going through who was doing what were they hired to do, how did they do their reporting and all of that before making that decision.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Chief Secretary stated that in that particular unit, which required engineers in order for the unit to operate effectively, there were no engineers. But the issue with this is that we're hearing reporting from the political leader of the PDP and I have to say political leader, that's foremost, as well as the Chief Secretary, and then we're hearing from the minority leader of the PNM. Wouldn't it be best or most appropriate if Mr. Augustine came out with something more concrete rather than just his word? Because though we are always willing to take the word of politicians at face value, due to history, as you would have pointed out, in terms of new administrations coming in and getting rid of what people would have identified as political appointees, isn't it better to come with something a bit more concrete to the people?
Now you can realize that possibly the only people who are complaining about this is the minority leader and his colleagues. When you really look at this, if you ask the average Tobagonian, do they want evidence? Do they want what you are asking for? You would realize that the only people who are really complaining about this is the minority leader and his colleagues. And if you ask them, did they have the necessary qualifications? Did they go through the actual process, that is the due process required to be hired in the first place? They would be able to tell you very quickly, no, we didn't, or yes, we did. So the proof, I think in a situation like that, if the proof was otherwise, we would have already seen it in the public space. We would have already seen it in the public space.
I think there's something to be said with regards that there's always the...
Greetings from the communications unit.
Announcement by me.
That's fine.
So So there's always a narrative that people hold out or aspire to work for the government because there's security in it, because, and we've heard this wasn't just from me, this was from a caller yesterday. So I do have to ask, do Tobagonians believe in that sentiment as well? Are we now seeing a point in time where the island might be saying, look, enough is enough. Let's not have the 60% or 80% because the figure fluctuates being employed by the THA just because. Let's not turn it into a jobs program that's an electoral benefit for elections. Are people agreeing with this? Are they happy with this, the people on the ground?
So what we're experiencing and what we campaigned on was ensuring that we ran an island that actually works. An island that actually works is one where we have two segments. We have the public segment and we have the private segment. We ran on the idea of beefing up the private sector so that the public sector does not have to hold on to so many people. As a matter of fact, the idea is to beef up the private sector to a point where people will themselves leave the public sector to go into the private sector because it is actually way more profitable for them to do that. Tobagonians bought into that idea, and that is why I think we are here now, having won 14 out of the 15 seats, and the 15th one came dangerously close to us winning. So I think that Tobagonians were very clear in their minds about what we were planning to do in terms of shifting the economic outlook of the island to allow everyone to be profitable, to allow everyone to live comfortably. What we also recognize is that of the 60% or so of the population that is employed with the Tobago House of Assembly, a huge chunk of them are underemployed, meaning they are literally not making enough money at the end of the month to meet their needs, which means they have to go look for a second job and a third job and a fourth job for many of them. That is not the best situation to be in, and that is what we are moving towards. That is what we campaigned on, that is what we were able to do, and that is what we are hoping for. And there comes the announcement again.
So, well, just as you touched on the wider economy, I do want to ask for a quick update. Of course, we heard what your party said with regards to the finances. The Chief Secretary gave a report. Has that situation now improved? Has it stabilized? Because you seem to have a good working relationship still with the central government. So have you all been able to, go past this issue now and get now to the point that you all thought you all were coming into the actual long-term problems?
Yes, certainly. I do think that we actually have a very good relationship with the central government. As a matter of fact, up to yesterday, I was having a conversation with the Minister of Health, just because this is what we do. So I do think that we are getting to that place. We are still trying to understand the magnitude of the debt that we have. I mean, I get letters. It seems like the last time I was here, I said I get letters every day. They are still coming every day, identifying all of the things that we are owing. So we are still really trying to get a full grasp of what those numbers are. And we are also going to be using all of the mechanisms that are available to us, going back to the central government at the midterm review, ensuring that we look at our books in Tobago to see if there are projects that we have not done. We really don't plan to do, so we can maneuver and we can shift finances from one to the other to meet those needs. Those are some of the things that we are doing right now, and we are looking at what is the best way to get to where we need to go. So the place, we're still in a bad place. We're still in a really bad place, but I think we have improved relationships between the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government. And we also are working on an actual strategic plan to get us out of this very, very red zone that we've been in.
Dr. B. Israel, I just want to quickly go back in relation to what we were speaking about, hiring on the part of the THA. Just for clarification, because I think at least one caller might call in to make the argument on the part of the employees. And they've indicated before that in Trinidad and Tobago, it's the Service Commission that has the authority to hire and terminate workers. In this instance, seeing that there is, to some extent, autonomy on the part of the THA, not to what you would hope for, but who is responsible or who has the authority to hire individuals on the part of the THA? Because I can ask that question in relation to termination, but this is the action that the Chief Secretary has taken.
So that's a very good question. I'm actually glad you raised that question, because one of the things that the previous administration has actually done, and I think actively so, is to move away from hiring people using the public service mechanism to give them permanency and to give them a security. And they have, so most of the employees that are hired in the Tobago House of Assembly are hired on contract, not through service commission. They are hired on contract. What we have actually been doing, and I have personally been doing it in my office, has been actually moving away from individuals who we were hiring on short-term contract. And when I say short-term, I mean month-to-month, which means that person has no level of stability, no level of being able to go to the bank, for example, and get a mortgage or a car loan or anything like that. And extending those contracts for them so that they are more than a month, more than 2 months, more than a year, going up to 3 years even. That is what we have actually been doing since we have been here, to ensure that people have that level of stability compared to what they were doing to them before. So because these were contract workers, because these were people who, remember, a contract is for a period, a beginning and end. And if we get to the end and we recognize that you were not meeting the needs, you were not doing what we asked you to do, you did not have the technical capacity to do it, we are on no obligation to rehire you to continue not performing. But again, that was the policy of the last administration, to hire most people on contract. So these people were not part of service commission or anything to that effect.
So I understand that partially answers the question I was going to ask, just because the potential raising of the retirement age was an issue. I wanted to find out for Tobago, yes, contract workers, that's not really going to be a thing, but there might be some public servants in Tobago hired through the Service Commission still. Regardless, that is what it should be. So has Tobagonians, or have any of the employees of the THA given an opinion, voiced an opinion or concerns over the raising of the retirement age?
You know, somehow some are interested in continuing working. Some are not. Some are ready for, when they get to the age of retirement, to go home and enjoy their grandchildren and that kind of thing. So I think it's a mixed bag right now. The Tobago House of Assembly does have a policy, though, of which was, before this new development, to not give extended contracts to people who are over the age of 60 for exactly that reason. If you're over the age of 60, then you should be heading out the door. So there was a policy that came in a couple of years ago. Again, this was not our policy. We came and met this in the Tobago House of Assembly, which basically said if you were over the age of 60, the only way you would be rehired within the contract would be if you brought, real exceptional talent skills, or if we needed to do additional planning to ensure that somebody else could do the job and that kind of thing. So that is a policy now. Given our new position, or given where we are going, that might be a policy that needs to be reviewed, given, the possibility of the age of retirement increasing. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but we will see where it goes. We'll continue to have conversations with the ministers in Trinidad and see what is best for Trinidad and Tobago.
But in the event, and I'm just thinking through now in terms of the future, we can go back to the conversation of autonomy. I don't want to harp on too much about it, because I know that plans are in place and the conversations will occur in time to come. But in relation to that, is there any sort of idea or any sort of thought of perhaps the THA creating its own pension plan, autonomous to the NIB?
I don't know. That is not something that I have personally thought about. I do know, for example, that for assemblymen like myself, we have our own pension plan that is managed by the Tobago House of Assembly. So that is something I will actually raise it with the Chief Secretary, who is the Secretary for Finance, to see if that is a possibility for us to think through, and why not. It is just not something that I have personally thought about. So it's hard for me to give an answer to that right now.
Well, of course, I have to ask this question. We know that Tobago was not affected by the blackout. It was island-wide, but thankfully not nationwide. So at least you were spared one bad thing happening. But there are some serious concerns, I think, that is being raised with our public utilities. WASA was always seen as a problem child, to say, more so than TNTech. But TNTech was not necessarily without issues because they themselves have budget deficits with regards to revenue collection and so on. Not necessarily from citizens, I think from larger stakeholders like the government. So the question is now, there are narratives, informal rumors and concerns about the inefficiencies of our public utilities, so much so that the government has more or less acknowledged it with regards to the need, particularly with WASA. The Prime Minister outlined what he believed to be the problem and gave the directive to the Minister. Now, Tobago is technically a separate island and the infrastructure is separate. Are there any sort of concerns or thoughts with regards to trying to deal with any sort of situation with public utilities there? Is it fine? Do you not have any issues at all? Because I do wonder, what is the concern level? I'm concerned over here, but I think, Tobago is a different situation altogether.
Well, it's not that different. I think the infrastructure is highly linked. Of course, the organizations are the same organizations, TNTech and WASA and the internet. We've actually had situations where a tree fell, I think, in Toko at a point and the entire island didn't have electricity. Imagine that. So it is a serious concern of ours. It is one where we have to take, I think, a little bit more seriously on the Tobago House of Assembly side, our responsibility to treat directly with WASA and TNTech and all of the others to ensure that whatever policy is being implemented is one that works for Tobago, because according to the Tobago House of Assembly Act, we do have the authority to guide those policies to ensure that they work for Tobago, even though they are being done by these multinational, by these national companies. So it is a real concern. We continually have issues with electricity. We continually have issues with water. But it is one of the larger, bigger problems that we are looking towards solving eventually. Right now, it may not be a priority. And for some reason, we were just really, really happy that this thing did not affect Tobago. Something worked. And I think we need to figure out what that thing is that worked and hold on to it.
Because it could have. I think people need to understand it could have, right?
Yeah, it could have. I mean, the situation with the tree falling and we didn't have electricity. The tree fell in Trinidad, The tree fell in Trinidad.
Oh, Lord.
Huh.
Yes.
Trinidad gets the blame.
Well, I mean, it was a Trinidadian tree.
Hello, it was a Trinbagonian tree.
That is true. All right. That is true.
Anyway, Dr. B. Israel, I want to thank you very much for your time, for coming on the program once more, finding that time to share your information with us, knowing that you have such a busy schedule. We appreciate it, and we look forward to more discussions in the future.
Thank you, and I really like your shirt. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Finally, thank you.
All right, see you.
Take care, Dr. Israel.
Thank you, Dr. Israel.
All right, bye.
See, this is why, Sean, you understand, I have a decent taste for fashion. I hope that wasn't sarcasm.
I mean, it's almost a dad shirt, like your jokes. So you have a consistent sense of taste, I'll give you that. Yeah.
What can I say? The man's on fire this morning, right?
But people, I mean, once again, I'd just like to reiterate our gratitude publicly for the Secretary of Health and Wellness for coming on, because that's a level of transparency that we don't get from every ministerial position that we wish we could get. It's not about the individual being put on a pedestal. It's just literally the communication that we wish we could have with all of the ministerial posts so that, things could be cleared up, because I believe she gave us quite a good amount of perspectives today with regards to some of the national issues, and we're grateful for that.
Yes, indeed we are. And thank you very much to Dr. B. Israel for complimenting me on my shirt, because
that is not one of the good perspectives that she gave us this morning. That's a bad perspective. Very, very bad. But she can't be perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Listen.
She can't be perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Listen, your insults do not hurt me. When you learn to tie a tie, we will talk.
I can tie a tie.
When we learn to tie a
I
tie
can tie a tie.
and spell soliloquy,
Hold on.
we will talk.
No. First of all,
let's break for news on the
let's
hour.
not talk about formal.
Let's break for
right
news on the
now.
hour. It's 9 o'clock.
Seven is out. All day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit?
Yes.
What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, it's for all of us in public.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
It may seem like the hardest thing to do right now, but we all need each other to wear a mask, wash our hands, watch our physical distance, and stay at home. We need you safe. Together we can make the difference. Together we can curb the spread of COVID-19. So let's be responsible in our actions. The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
Welcome back to Talking Points. Heading to Westmoreland anytime soon, Sean?
Me?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't wanna have to deal with the deputy. Folks, let's on all the phone lines.
You see, the thing is that everything was fine, and then one of our directors walked into the studio, and all I can say, well, I'm happy that I could make you all laugh. I'm happy I can make you all laugh. I'm so happy I can make you all laugh. Anyway,
it's the last chance for the week. Get your worries or concerns off your chest. If you have anything to say about anything that happened this week, anything else doesn't have to have happened this week. Could be some issue that we haven't spoken about, some random thought in your head, some question.
And it doesn't even have to be that. If you have some good news to share with us, we always encourage that as well. Put a smile on our face.
Needs some good news after that shit this morning.
Oh, Lord, Shawn Michaels.
Good morning, Diego Martin.
Good morning, Mr. Shah and Mr. Small.
Good morning.
Right, two issues.
Yeah.
One to do with the blackout, and the other one I will talk about Mr. Vera after. The two headlines on the two newspapers are at variance with each other. One saying, heads happy with aftermath. Remember that one?
Yes.
The meeting chaired by the Minister of Security. And the other headline, bloodbath turns bloody. So it's kind of confusing. Somebody interpreted that a good outcome, that is the Minister of National Security, etc. And one of the newspapers say, bloodbath bloody.
Bloodbath bloody.
So that total confusion, but something has been wrongly communicated. The other issue is Senator Vera that I'm going to continue to pong.
Yeah.
And I want people to remember two huge instances with the former government. Remember Section 34?
Yeah.
What occurred so that Section 34 became dominant? There was an alleged relationship with a Minister of Justice and a particular person who might have been freed as a result of Section 34. You remember that party somewhere in Tobago at the Grafton Beach, and I'm not going to do with it. And another salient issue, which is more profound. You remember Magistrate McNichols, and the apparent bias case, and there was alleged collusion between the dispenser of justice, the magistrate, and a number of people in the AG's office, in the DPP office. This is the same thing that is reoccurring, and we have not done the preventive action or the corrective action. Where there is alleged or perceived bias, not only perceived bias, sometimes we say interface, the Prime Minister uses the word interface, or perceived collusion. We have to get it right with what is happening. That is a serious issue that we've taken for granted. We had people marching left, right, and center with Section 34. We had a magistrate going in court, and he collapses the place, and nothing happened to them. So these are issues that we fleshed out, as we will have a justice system that is perceived to be biased. Go and have a nice morning. Bye.
Have a good morning and a good weekend.
We already have issues with the perception of the justice system, or we just have issues with the justice system already. So, but this just adds another layer, unfortunately. Another layer. And the thing is, one chink in the armor allows for other chinks to appear. That is to say, with regards to corruption or inefficiencies or poor bureaucracy, poor management, etc. So, this is something that it might not seem like a big deal to the people on the inside, but perception sometimes is reality. And I would prefer that it be sorted out.
On a lighter note, on Monday, I was following the virtual report on the part of the opposition party because I had to report on it the next day. And I listened to what the opposition leader stated. And it's so humorous how she can get herself confused sometimes. She says, when we went to Parliament over the impeachment proceedings in which we used Section 34, I said, you're really getting yourself confused. It was Section 36 of the Constitution used. Section 34 was something a lot different. So, you know, be careful what you're stating because you might be selling yourself out. Anyway, good morning, caller from Pissy Valley.
Thank you, Tom.
Good morning.
I'll ease off the politics this morning. It's Friday. You all want good news?
Share it with me.
I'll give you some good news. Yesterday, my son and I went and watched the senior national team women in World Cup qualifying, and they won the game 2-1.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is my good news this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was reading it. I said, if it's one thing, they need to teach the men's football team how to play.
Oh, no.
But it's true.
Now, caller, I would like to say thank you for going out to support our national women's team.
Father-son time, crucial.
Yes, and that too.
Yeah, crucial in this day and age.
But permit me to just reiterate again, our sports need more support from the population.
Definitely. I mean, it happens at WSN all the time. Good morning, caller from Shigonas.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Professor.
Morning, Professor.
Yesterday you say I should be in the government, the public service. But I have already explained to you I was a career public servant.
Well, unfortunately, we need you back.
No, but you see, I'll be 79 in April, and they wouldn't employ me at that age.
That is true, unfortunately.
That is why I do it free. And it's not I know how to run the country. If you look back at everything nearly that I see, I refer to reports that have been held by government and all these things, right? And which you promised to check, and you said check. Well, you found me wrong with the permission of police, and I admitted it because that happened after I retired, and I was outside the country most of the time. But I pointed out to you that the change was not sensible. You couldn't put the commissions there to monitor day-to-day on the police commissioner. That is for the permanent secretary. That is why you have permanent secretary. You tell me they have bad permanent secretary. I know that. And the reason for it is the politicians do not encourage proper reporting and proper administrative reporting. And we had in one year a person who was the Minister of Finance at the time with property tax. When the official document you could go and buy in the government printing see to pass property tax to the regional authority, intend to do the opposite. And I asked the question endless times whether any technical report was prepared on that, and I cannot get an answer. They go off talking about, people in St. Clair playing to next to nothing, but they don't tell you the reason for that. Is when those properties was reassessed, the politicians went and sent it back. Right? She know that. But she still called those things. And all I want to know, anytime you could call she, is whether any technical report was prepared, and if it was, to counter the first one, why you could get the first one on the government printing and the next one is being hidden. Any questions, gentlemen? Or you hang up and then make your controversial statement?
Controversial statement. No, listen, Professor, thank you. Hopefully Karen could answer your question. I thought she answered the question many times before, but
you ever hear she
the technical report, so we have to just be specific on that. Yeah.
We will be more specific to her on Wednesday, and hopefully she can answer your question.
She said how I could get the report.
Okay, well, as I said, hopefully she
All
can answer your question.
we can do is ask. I will just say, I think the professor, as much as a lot of it is certain points are the same every week, there's something there with regards to we moved the public service, there were changes made, were they for the better? I would say no.
Have they ever been for the better?
Have they ever been for the better? Right. So maybe part of it is just to revert some of these changes and see what happens at the very least.
Good morning, caller from Santa Cruz.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
First of all,
Sean, I find you real getting on this.
Yeah, boy.
I don't know why you get behaving like this.
I don't.
But
Jealous.
I find you real getting on with it.
I mean, I didn't forget my wardrobe.
I like your shoes.
Thank you,
Oh,
my dear.
Lord.
Thank you very much.
And yes, it works in the gray, so you all are on par with the color story. Okay, but this is a nice, cool polo shirt. Nice pattern, okay? Keaton, to your point of sabotage, etc.
Yes.
Willful neglect, there's a thing called willful neglect that is practiced very well in this country.
Yes.
Willful neglect is also a form of sabotage. All right?
Yes.
And for my good news,
Lovely. Thank you. I've been waiting for it.
Let's started off with a disappointment because it's regarding the We Comedy Jam show.
Talk
Right,
to
I
it.
was looking forward to going to that tomorrow, Saturday. And it's a group of people that are coming in. However, they are arriving at 3:45 p.m. in Piarco, and the taping is at 4:30. So unless, Jeannie can blink and people would arrive, go through immigration, etc., check in, and be present for 5 p.m. taping, can't happen.
Come at 5 p.m. We're looking out for you.
But no, that can't happen. They're arriving at 3:45.
Well, come the next day.
Well,
listen.
I think.
The thing is, the good news is that I just got a notice back that our name's already there. Taping should go until 8 p.m. So you're still welcome. You might be sitting in the back, but you're still welcome.
Yes, of course.
So we will be seeing you tomorrow,
we will
hopefully.
be seeing the lady with the good news.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is some good news. We
That
look
is
forward
some
to
nice
that.
news. I look forward to that too. Yes.
Guys, have a great day.
You
okay?
too.
See you soon.
See you soon.
See you
Take
tomorrow.
All right. Yes. Bye-bye.
Care. Bye-bye. That's wonderful news.
That's some nice news.
That'll
be
that's
cool.
some good news. I
That'll
look
be
forward
cool.
to
That'll be
that.
cool.
And folks, listen. Unfortunately, I think tomorrow is booked up for We Comedy Jam. You can still call in and see if you can book your places. I'm not entirely sure, but there's a taping to take place, I believe, next weekend as well.
There might be.
Right?
I'm not-
Wait for the notice to come out. Wait for the notice to come out, and when that happens, call, book, come and watch our comedians, our local comedians. Give them your support. Support local talent. And, well, Sean and I might be there as well. And Sean will definitely be in a nice shirt, a nicer shirt. So we look forward to that. One boy.
Why you sending me up, sir? Why you sending me up, sir?
Well, hopefully.
Speak for yourself.
Anyway,
Speak for yourself, Peter.
Good morning, caller from Shigonas.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I have two simple questions.
Sure.
One about the THA and the person that you had on a little while ago.
Of course.
I was wondering if, they say that they're having good talks with the central government. I'm wondering if part of those good talks were actually threats against exposure of corruption during the past administration. When the UNC or the People Partnership came into power, when they lost in 2015, there were threats going on that, hey, if you reveal, this will be revealed and things like that. So maybe the central government is telling them, hey, you do your business, don't expose anything, otherwise we would later on do the same. And secondly, the Wassa situation. The Wassa situation, they are proposing to curtail, let's say, the use of water. You can only use it for drinking and cooking. You can't wash down, you can't water your plants or anything. But I'm asking you questions. What quality water do you get in your pipe? How much money do you spend every month on drinking water?
You're asking us personally? Or?
Personally,
But you personally,
my
yes.
household has filters. At one point, 2 filters on the line coming in.
I actually drink straight from the tap.
Yeah.
I drink straight from the tap.
Really?
Yeah, I
Well,
drink straight from the tap.
congratulations, because here in Shogunas, when you open 80% of the time, when you open the tap, you get slurry coming out.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Okay?
What?
And you put on filters, and you have to change filters quite regularly. Another thing is the water tastes badly. Okay? So, and there is somewhere I remember when I was young, it said if your water is dirty, open your taps, let it out, it will come clean after a while.
Yes, yeah.
So what do we do? Open the taps and let it go down the drain, or can we water the plants with it? And what about agriculture? They say that we want to reduce the budget on imports, but we need water to produce food.
Yeah.
And where do we get it? We can't get it from the streams because water is also controlling that, and they're telling you can't do it. And then, I mean, this is really crazy. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Caller,
Thank you very much.
thank
and have
you.
a good morning to
Thank
you.
you.
All.
Have a
I
good
like
one
your
too.
shirt, though. I like the jacket as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, we will be speaking about WASA and the water scheduling, because what you're stating is I mean, you're right.
Well,
I'm glad
WASA
you raised
is
these questions, but
ongoing,
we will actually raise that because I got the schedule from WASA, and I have a couple of questions in relation to that. It seems as though some areas are benefiting from a full 7-day streamline, and those areas are...
I think I've said this before on the show in the past, and I'll say it again. And if I'm wrong, again, anyone is free to correct me. But I believe that the water supply is not one big interconnected system, but rather a series of systems that are not interconnected.
Now,
so because of that, the problems in one area are going to be wholly somewhat independent from another area.
Now, in relation to what he was initially stating on the meeting between the PDP and the PNM, he has every right to raise that question.
Yes, yes.
Every right, because constantly governments come and go, and we always say we will knock out corruption, we will do this, everybody going to jail. You know, what has become up in the air, in my opinion, is that the PNM government, the administration campaigned in 2015 and so and so and so. Up to now, I haven't seen anyone from the opposition charges laid against them. I don't know if there was ever a meeting between the two parties saying, okay, you know what, you stay quiet, you stay in opposition, you be this way, you be that, and we'll be this way and whatnot. We'll make it look like this in the public, but don't worry, you won't be charged.
The unfortunate truth is, it's not just what you know, but what you could prove. Now, with regards to the PDP and Tobago, the current administration, I do believe that they have, or at least Dr. Israel has more or less called out the previous administration of the PNM on various issues. To what extent is criminal, I don't think those are necessarily things that you get criminal charges for.
Well, this is why the caller is asking what took place in that meeting beyond what is being reported.
Right, but at the end of the day, just the fact that we have two parties willing to speak to each other and work together is a good step forward for politics in our country. So I'm going to still be hopeful, and I'm not going to speculate too much about all of those other things, at least for now. At least for now.
Put it this way, Trinidad could surely take a lesson from Tobago and the TG.
Yeah.
Anyway, good morning, caller from Digger Martin.
Hi, guys. Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning.
Seeing that today is probably dress down day for Keaton, I was wondering, what about Trivia Friday? Could I give you all a trivia question?
We're probably going to fail, but go ahead.
No, it's really, well, no, it's not so easy. But Sean, you had an easier one when Keaton challenged you to soliloquy the other day. So you should have accepted that, because then I came up with another one for you. This one is Zelensky.
Sorry, what?
Okay, no, I'm bad at spelling.
Since we're into all things Russian now.
Vladimir Zelensky, that's what you're referring to?
Yeah.
No, I can't spell it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to make...
I can't spell English, much less Russian.
Should we make the attempt?
No, I have...
Yeah, you could attempt. Oh, gosh, the first part of it isn't bad.
Zelinski.
I can't do the buzzer sound, but yeah, buzzer for you. Nah, you're wrong.
All right. Okay. I'm Googling it now. Sean, go for it.
Zelensky.
Okay, just forget it. I'm not even listening. So, because you know the English journalists...
Wait, hold on. Wait, what? This is how you spell his name?
So, in the beginning, they thought it would be, the easiest way would be Zelensky. But then others wanted the more Puritan one, Zelensky. But the Atlantic Council, now some other body, thought it should be Zelensky, which I think you sometimes see. I saw that up to yesterday. But then the president himself came out with, hey, this is how you spell my name. Zelensky is the English language name for Zelensky.
Well, caller,
So
thank you very much.
But also the Vladimir is different.
Yeah, it is very different.
The Vladimir is VLADIMIR for Putin.
Yeah.
But his Vladimir other is a little more complex. It is VOLODYMYR.
Yeah.
So there you
I'm
go.
looking
You
at it
have
now.
another little bit of trivia.
We look forward to the next. We look forward to one next week Friday.
Await the outcome of Russian sports with Valyeva, who was my favorite person.
Touchy
and
topic.
now they've just come and messed it up with drugs.
All right,
With
thank
their
you.
drugging Scandal. Okay, thanks.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one,
Have
caller.
a wonderful
Have a
weekend,
good
Roland
one.
Moss.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, the Olympics is a whole
I
other.
would never have guessed how to spell that name.
Yeah, no.
If you, the Vladimir is
So I'm seeing Zelensky, but not the Vladimir. I'm seeing a conventional Vladimir right now.
You need to take a look at how to spell the Ukrainian president's entire name. It's Vladimir Zelensky, but you never ever would have guessed that's how you spelled it.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'll give you a hint. Voldemort.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, basically, Volodymyr Zelensky.
Something like that.
Volodymyr Zelensky.
Yeah, anyway. Folks, well, that's it for this week on Talking Point. Thank you very much always for joining us. Thank you very much to all those who call in with some good news, to all our callers for their contributions, and those with some lighter news. Santa Cruz, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at We Comedy Jam. And thank you very much to our caller from Diego Martin for her trivia. We look forward to another one next week. And to the caller from Chagonas with your 3 points. I mean, you're absolutely right in asking all those questions.
Yeah.
I know you posed it to us. We can't answer all of it because we actually have the same questions as you do.
And we're not necessarily going to get those answers right now.
But
we'll wait and see.
Thank you for your viewership, and we hope to hear from you again soon. To everyone who called in and didn't get through, next week Monday.
Next week Monday, folks. Call early.
Yes. But even more so from next week Monday, folks, Sean and I even going to be, I know I've said this multiple times before, but we're going to be trying harder to limit the calls in terms of if you're making your points, you can make multiple points. Try to be as brief as possible to give others a chance.
Yeah.
We can't stress that enough. We don't like having to cut callers, especially on air, but sometimes we're going to have to do that from now on, folks. Anyway, and thank you to everyone who complimented my shirt. I love this shirt. I picked it myself. Sean, you picked that shirt yourself? You need a refund.
Probably.
Anyway, my good friend Sean Michael Small.
If it was up to my mother, I'd be wearing more colors, more crazy things.
This is why
more
your mother and I
patterns.
have a very good relationship.
I mean,
I agree with her 100%.
Everything.
I agree with her 100%.
People can't see the details in the pattern of that shirt, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
It's pineapples, okay?
It's not just pineapples.
It's pineapples.
It's not just pineapples. And pineapples go on pizza, not on shirts. Yeah, I said it. Pineapple goes on
Okay,
pizza.
I agree with him on that. Pineapple does go on pizza. I'm just stating that as well. Anyway, that's it, folks. Thank you very much. I'm Keaton Shah, as always, in your daily endeavors. And for the weekend, please stay safe and keep well. I know we're all out and about, going to the beach, to the rivers, and, we've basically opened back up. But, folks, practice your precautions. Of course, wear your mask, watch your distance, and wash your hands. Please, personal responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago. Sean?
Yes, folks, don't be complacent. But as my counterpart said, personal responsibility. Now we need to translate that into other areas of the public discourse and for the public good. So please try to get more involved in how our country is being run today. Let your voice be heard in whatever platform or avenue you have available to you. Educate yourself on the issues of the day. Don't let our political class just happen to you. Be active in who you pick, who you support, and let's try to do our part, each and every one of us, to recover from what we've went through the last 2 years and even before.
finally, you can look forward to 10 Questions with Andy Johnson at 10 a.m. That's in 30 minutes time, where his guest this morning is, well, the former head of the PNM Tobago Council, Tracy Davison Celestine. So join us on WESN for that discussion. But for now, here on Talking Point, I'm Keaton Shaw, that's Mr. Sean Michael Small, and we will see you again on Monday morning. Bye-bye.